Good evening, everyone. Another Wembley appearance, another win, and most importantly, silverware added to our trophy cabinet. Welcome to another episode of the North Bank Noise, presented to you by Arsenalites Goa. With us, we have our regulars in the form of Kingsley, Anoop, and Sullivan. And we have a guest appearance here today from Nathan Menezes, who's one of our long-term members of the Arsenalites group. Hey, Nathan, good to have you here.
Hey,
Nathan was one of the guys who had actually back in 2012 given us the idea to, start the WhatsApp group, which is quite an integral part of our day-to-day Arsenal discussions. So, yes, with that, let us straight get into it straight away. So, guys, everyone excited after yesterday's performance? Okay, first of all, let's start with the lineup. There were three changes compared to the MK Dons lineup. Nathan, let's start with you itself. What was your thoughts about the lineup, and especially with comparison to the previous game? And what was your thought about the overall thoughts of the game yesterday?
so immediately when I saw the lineup, of course, the inclusion of Luis and Martinez was a surprise because they didn't figure in the previous game, and also there was no indication of them in training. So the first good and I would say pleasant surprise was both of them because we needed two voices who would hold our defense together. Then besides them, Saka on the right was a little doubtful, or I would say I was not too happy with because he struggled a lot there against Wolves. But I guess not having Pepe there and Nelson not being really ready for being included in the first team is what made Arteta do that. But overall, I think it was the best possible lineup he could have gone for, considering who was in quarantine and who was with us.
Yeah, I think, and it was, the introduction of David Luiz was really surprising considering he had just one training session, but he put in a strong performance. Sullivan, what was your take when you saw the lineup for the first time yesterday? I think Sullivan. Anoop, can you take over? What was your thought on the lineup yesterday and the team?
Sure. So, yeah, when I saw the lineup, the only thing that I noticed was like, oh, El Neni is playing. And then do we have anyone else over there right now? I mean, we were so dependent on Ceballos I think, for the past 6 months on that position. So, right now, I think apart from that, it's only Willock, but, El Neni being the senior head, I think he got the nod. And he did not disappoint. I mean, he was one player I was personally noticing how he's going about his duties and his roles, but yeah, he did it right away, and it was pretty justified. Apart from him, I mean, the no Lacazette was kind of a thing, but yeah, I'm not sure what the decision was for the Lacazette, but yeah, I mean, apart from that, it was a pretty strong setup. That was
Yeah, I think a couple of players were out because of, as Nathan mentioned, because of the quarantine rules, so we couldn't start them. My personal worry was about the midfield itself. I felt that our midfield, at least before on paper, was quite weak. So Kingsley, yesterday we had a surprise. I mean, it was not a surprise. We saw him against MK Dons, but El Neni started yesterday alongside Xhaka, which was, on paper, as we said, it looked quite weak, but he put in a solid performance, and the midfield didn't disappoint yesterday. So Arsenal having like we've discussed in our previous discussions, wherein we've had a poor midfield. What was your take on our midfield in particular yesterday? Like with Shaka
Uh,
and El Neni?
so I mean, firstly, as soon as this team sheet came out, I honestly thought we were gonna get whacked. I don't know why. I thought midfield was probably just looking suspect, right? With El Neni in it, even though he did perform really well at the MK Dons game. But then, yeah, the guy was insane for 90 minutes. I don't know what happened to him, and I don't know what he was on. But that passing and even the extent of using his body around, to shuffle off tackles and winning the ball in that aspect, I think he did a damn good job with it. And he's put into the mix his name, right? He's thrown his name into the hat, and now it's a big problem as to what we do there. I'm still completely sold out with the fact that we need people like Coutinho and we need Danny to come back. How does El
Yeah.
Neni fit into the whole lineup and the whole midfield setup is something now that puts Shaka's role also in a bit of a doubt right now, because I to be honest, I see them as very similar players, if not the same. They're very similar players, and who takes up which role and how do they play out from there and pan out from there is something that I'm really looking to see. But yeah, El Neni, insane performance. But one thing that I just want to say out loud, El Neni had a similar kind of a performance that Joel Campbell had a couple of years ago, right? He performed really well in the preseason. He did very well
Preseason,
in
yeah.
the starting games, but he just didn't manage to stick up there, right? And he
Yeah.
just faded out as the game started wearing. And I just hope that doesn't happen in El Neni's case, and maybe we just like pick out something great here. It starts off again for him. Fingers crossed on that.
Yeah, and ideally he would be a. Is it like Sullivan? Do you think he's a good option to have as a squad player, or do we just utilize these preseason matches and get a fee for him or something that way? Would you keep him as a squad player right now, or wait till the window ends, or how would you go about with a case like El Neni? I mean, it's a small topic, but he's a player who's making the headlines right now, considering he's starting. What would be your take on El Neni in terms of his move, his Arsenal future?
Hey, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. Did you get my question? Hello, Sally. Did you get hear my question? Okay, I think it's till he joins back. Anybody has anything to add, like with regards to El Neni, especially with his future at Arsenal?
I mean, one thing I would like to just put out. I mean, hope so it doesn't happen. But if Xhaka is injured, we have like a like-to-like replacement for Xhaka right now than our team. I think the closest player that would come to play for him would be El Neni. So
Yeah.
I mean, if we do not have more reinforcement, if we do not buy anyone in that specific position, because we just can't rely on Xhaka the whole season when the other leagues and stuff, right? We definitely need rotation there, and we've seen Xhaka play all the games, and we know how very integral part he is. But yeah, if God forbid there's some injury and all, and he cannot, I think.
Okay, I think Rane has
I think
just
there's
dropped.
a lot of
Yeah.
I'll
Okay,
pick up
let's.
where
Yeah.
Rane dropped off. I'll pick up where Rane dropped
Yeah.
off. So I think what he's basically hinting at is we need someone to back up Xhaka, right? I mean, at the end of the
Yes.
day, we possibly don't see Xhaka playing every single set of games, and obviously his form's gonna up drop, and it depends on how we look at a backup option to that. I may not be completely convinced with the fact that we should be keeping El Neni, because we do have a lot of
Yeah.
younger talent that we need to start pushing up. Otherwise, they're going to start having the same Maitland-Niles problem, right? I'm not getting playing time, and how do I go?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So I think we take it from there. I'm not too convinced that we keep El Neni. Positive performances, yes, but then I don't know. I mean, it's still 50-50 for me.
Yeah.
So let's see how that goes.
If I have to put this as an Arsenal analogy, not analogy, a previous case, it comes as remember the time when Arsenal tried for Dembaba on the last day and we didn't get him, so we kept hold of Nicholas Bentner. So that's a possibility for something like that happening with El Neni. Anyways, moving on to the game. Now, the game was quite an interesting game. I missed quite a few minutes of the second half. But anyway, let's talk about the first half in particular, which I felt we were really, really good. So, Nathan, what was your take about the first half of the way we played? What stood out for you in terms of our play?
So when I looked at the first half, it reminded me a lot of the FA Cup final where we struggled a lot in the first 20 minutes. We were a little nervous. The passes were not coming off. We were making a little of a mess behind. But slowly, as we got to the 20th minute, I was, of course, waiting again for the drinks break where Arteta would do his thing. But that didn't really come. But it looked like, we were still quite robust, even though we were making mistakes passing out from the back. We were still quite robust. And what really changed the whole game was the goal, of course. So that gave us a little confidence, that made the passing a little smooth, and that made the transition a little better. But what I noticed is that Bellerin was getting exposed many, many times because Saka was not doing his defensive duties. That was a key point. And also what I realized in the first half is Nketiah. Now, considering we had just two midfielders, they needed some help. So because they were getting totally overrun by Liverpool's midfield. So Nketiah was not dropping back how Lacazette typically does, to give a little relief to the back line, to change the side of the game. which he started doing a little in the second half. But overall, in the first half, I think we had the energy to kind of suppress Liverpool's attacks, and we held our own really well. And what was very interesting is, like, unlike with Emery, when in the good times of Emery, where we used to defend well and be compact,
Yeah.
we were really, disconnected in midfield. It was just attack
Yeah, there was a big
and defense. There was nothing in between. But with
a bit.
Arteta, he's added that little bit of incisiveness in the final third, and he's added that little bit of connect between the midfield and the defense and the forwards.
Yes. Anu, when we talk, since you are our striker after all of the team, when we come, Nathan just spoke about Eddie, and that was quite an interesting point. Eddie, you can see that his inexperience does show up in the game quite a bit. But overall, what was your take? Like, I have something to add about it, but let me hear what you have to say about Eddie's performance yesterday and in general, from what you think of him as a player.
So in general, I mean, I really don't rate him that high, but he's still a young kid. Okay, the main part about him is he is very determined. He's a fighter up there. Like, he'll go for every ball that's there. He'll press your defenders. He'll put pressure, and he does that aspect very well. And we've got so many results also because of that. Second round, his positionings, his runs in the box, they have good timing. I've seen, like, especially you see Tierney and you see Saka running down the flanks. He times his run pretty much, and they have that good understanding as well. Definitely. So he makes those positioning. His positioning is pretty. There. The only part, yeah, where we are pretty. I mean, we can see it out there that the finishing is not at his best. I mean, you see, we got that first time chance which he could have slotted up in the corner, but yeah, it went almost straight down. So yeah, I see a lot of promise. He's still young and he's got a lot to learn. And I feel under Arteta, he definitely will just improve from there on. And the fact that I felt he wasn't dropping down. I think that had something to do with Arteta's game plan, for those long balls to Oba and all, because if you just have Oba up there, your defenders are, it's your whole focus is on Oba, the defenders. So when you have a mix, like when you have an Ketia there on top, there's a lot of, they have to also track his run and Arsenal. So I feel that's why he wasn't totally, dropping down to receive the balls, maybe I'm not sure. I think that could have been one of the game plans from Arteta. So yeah.
So one of the things well said, but one of the things what I wanted to say was when it comes to Eddie, his off the ball movement has been pretty good. Yes, he has a lot of issues, but like if you see for the first goal, he dragged. I don't know who the defender was, it Van Dijk or Gomez, but he dragged the defender away, which opened up some amount of space, which makes a difference when it comes to attack. Speaking of attack, Kingsley, let's talk about our goal. Beautiful goal. Like, we as Arsenal fans have been, there have been times where we've been criticized a lot. The Arsenal players, sorry, have been criticized a lot by the fans for playing out from the back. But maybe a lot of things people say that the fact that we don't have fans and this helps us out, like, the players are under less pressure. But the way we played it out from the back against Liverpool, which a team which has like the best high press, in the league probably. We've done it against Liverpool, we've done it against United, but what a goal. What was your take on that goal when you saw it, and how many times have you watched it already?
I've watched it already a couple of times. I just hate the part when they do the back passing. I don't know. It still freaks me out. I hate when that across the goal kind of a pass goes.
Yeah.
They seem to do it very so often just to piss us off. So fine, let them do that. One thing that I really loved about the whole goal was Saka's pass over to Aubameyang. I remember we used to have Walcott on that wing, and this guy would never be able to do a pinpoint pass like that, right? So it was an insane pass to Aubameyang. Yes, obviously he had to control it and stuff like that, which Aubameyang is going to do. But I mean, to get that pass right, I think that was fantastic. To switch over the play, switch over the side at that with that kind of swiftness, right? I think that actually killed the whole move for us, and it actually helped us finish off Liverpool in that sense, right? And and I don't know. There's no need to comment on the finish, right? It was insane.
Yeah.
I mean, the way it actually bent and went in, it was too funny to see people like Alisson and Van Dijk and all these guys, doing nothing about it because they can absolutely do nothing about it. But then,
Exactly,
it was an insane move. But the key part for me in that entire move was Saka's pass, that accuracy of that pass. We missed that a lot on that side, with Walcott predominantly featuring on that side a lot throughout the span of Wenger's era, and right. And so that was something fresh, and I think that is something that actually made that goal. So insane pass from Saka over on that side.
Yeah. And I think Saka on the right provides a lot of, gives us a different avenue. He's quite a different player compared to Pepe. And, Arsenal have had a left-sided bias of late. And if you see Saka doing this, or, anyone attacking that way on the right, it does make a difference. So that is quite a positive thing for us. So, Sully, are you back with us? Can you hear us?
With the new haircut and everything.
Salvan, can you hear us?
We can't hear you, Sully.
I think Sully, you're on mute. Sully, you're on mute. Okay, anyways, let's move on to the second half now. So yeah, one thing, frankly speaking, I missed the second half quite a bit. I started watching exactly when the second goal, when we conceded the second goal. So Nathan, can you brief us about how the second half went out?
In the second half, we could really see the difference in preparation of both the teams, the time that they had off, the fitness levels. So it would not be fair to say that we became a little complacent or eased off in the 60th minute or so. It was purely because of the fatigue that the players are feeling. You could see that they had stopped putting the press high. You could see that they stopped trying to pass so fluidly out from the back. They were just like defending for their life. It reminded me of that UCL final where Atletico tried to defend for 93 minutes against Real, but obviously Arsenal are not in a position to do that. So it was kind of evident that we were soon going to concede. So of course the subs that Arteta did later helped a lot, not only to add that robustness back, but to give a little relief to our centre backs and to our goalkeeper.
Yeah, and that is there. And we conceded the goal, obviously. And even from what I saw from the 75th minute, whenever we conceded the goal, the tiredness factor was definitely there. It was quite a problem. But yeah, you can imagine like some of the players had played just once, had one session, we had one game. Liverpool have been training for more than a week. But we did concede a goal. And Kingsley, what can you just tell me more about the goal that we conceded and what happened? It seemed like a Kingsley on mute.
Perfect. So you guys can hear me, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes,
I mean, defensively we were really solid throughout the game, right? I honestly think defensively we were a solid unit throughout the entire 90. I don't think it was a defensive error that led to the goal. It was just exactly what Nathan said, right? I mean, the fatigue pretty much festered up to as we moved in towards the 90, right? And it was very evident that these guys were struggling to actually cope up with the game. So I mean, it was a bit of a lucky move, to be very honest, right? So Liverpool fans, just calm down. And other than that, it was nothing more than that. I want to go on record and say that yesterday's performance from a defensive sense was epic from all of them. I think minorly maybe Holding could have done a lot better. He got caught off quite often, fell out of position quite often, and maybe that ruins the case for him to stay with us for the remainder of the season, right? He'll probably get pushed out on loan because of it and because of other set of other reasons, right? Or new signings coming in. But yeah, just to be on record, defensively we were really strong, clean cut performance throughout the 90. Just a couple of fatigue that actually popped in and led to that. Nothing else, nothing more than that.
We got a question from Donville which says, does Saka deserve to start in the first match of the Premier League? Rane, I think that's quite an obvious question, but do you have any doubts against that? I mean, any?
No, I mean, he looks, I mean, he is such an integral part of our attack right now. I feel that's there. And he's been an outlet to our goals, I mean, a lot. We've seen that. And I really think he deserves to start. I mean, he's done everything that he needs to do to deserve. So he was very, very well composed yesterday on the ball, and he had his good moments. His passes, he is one of those who likes to involve his teammates and get the game. I feel he's one of those guys who will do those 1-2 passes, create chances for them. Yeah, that's so. Yeah, definitely a starter for in my senses.
And he did really well on that left wing, especially right wing. Sorry, when he was hold, he even held the ball, took it back, dribbled past players. His passing was good. He definitely is starting for sure. And coming back to the point that Kingsley added, so, Anup, if we see that under Arteta, obviously, especially against the big teams, we have been defensively solid. We've sat, I mean, not necessarily sat back, but yeah, like we have been good to handle attacks, that, and that is not something that you've seen with Arsenal teams. What is your thoughts of Arsenal's defense right now, especially again, and how do you think we will struggle against a team that is not going to attack much, wherein we, not like Liverpool or City where they'll be attacking us, but where we will have to attack? First of all, I mean, I'll break this into two parts. The first part would be, how do you think our defense is right now? Is it improved a lot, or do we still need to focus a bit more on anything? And the second half would be, how would the team play against another team with a strong defense in that way, or that sits back? Anup, this is to you itself.
Oh, I thought you asked Sully here.
No, I think Sally, are you back with us? Can you hear us?
We can't hear
Okay,
you.
so okay, so Anup, I think you can just take
Yeah,
the first
sure.
half of the question at least. So, what do you feel is a defensive? How do you feel the team has improved defensively right now? And do you think? I mean, we know that we are getting Gabriel. Do you think anything else is needed right now in the defense?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say, I'm so psyched. I'm so psyched for yesterday's game and the result, because I really don't think I've seen it before that we've actually won twice with Liverpool, with City, with
Yeah,
Chelsea on the run, continuously. And we are not used to such a result. And so that actually, and these are all attacking teams, mind you. So doing well with all these attacking teams and winning with them, that means something is definitely working. The plan's working, the defensive plan is definitely working. So that being said, again yesterday it was a superlative defensive performance. Uh, I think what has improved here is the whole team is defending. So it's like, if our defensive started, like all our 11 contributes to the defense, and similar while attacking, all 11 contributes to the attack. So that's what's going on right now. So we are starting like defending right from our strikers or wingers. It goes back on. And everyone has a defined role. And the best part is everyone knows what their roles are, and they are doing it 100%. Now,
yeah,
yesterday I noticed Elneny. I mean, the way he was winning the second balls, which were coming from our penalty box, he
yeah,
did not give Wijnaldum any chance on the ball. Like usually he is always that guy to pick up second balls from the attack. But yesterday, Elneny knew that he had the. I'm pretty sure that was his role, to not give Wijnaldum more of the second balls, and he was just winning the balls and all. And also, whenever Robertson got the ball, you'd see Robertson had, I mean, you literally can't stop that
yeah.
guy from crossing. I mean,
Yes, exactly.
and I was like, okay, there are a lot of balls going in, but I don't think there were many balls even met by any Liverpool players, because every player was marked by our players. Whenever Robertson got the ball, I think they were all battle stations saying we have to just see our players. It was not zonal, definitely, because we could see the balls. There were many balls just went through, and there were no one
Yes,
found. So it was more of like man marking things over there than that was it. And the similar thing I noticed against City, when we played City, whenever Kevin De Bruyne had the ball on the right side, there was not much pressure on him to stopping.
yes, yes.
Rather than they were just like concentrating on be near. So yeah, that's what's improved so much in rules. So I would totally. I mean, we have avenues. There is always room and scope for improvement. Definitely, we need some players, more ball playing players. Like we now know the trend how our team is going across with the defense, more ball playing defenders, and also I would definitely like the inclusion of more like Gabriel. So yeah.
So Nathan, now let's go to a slightly a different side. the team played well. Everybody is impressed with the performance, but there are some positions which we, or moments or certain aspects that the team still lacks. So, which are the positions or the type of what is needed in this team right now to take us to another level? To make us a bit more competitive compared to what we are right now. Which are the positions and what are we lacking in this team?
So this question relates very much to the previous question you asked. So against Wolves, against to a certain extent Spurs, Chelsea, and now Liverpool. We were very good with a low block, with attacking on the counter. But there will be many teams that we face, or most of the teams that we face, who are going to try and sit deep and defend against us. And right now, I don't see that level of creativity in there where we can unlock those defense, especially those dogged defense who keep the centre backs close to each other, whose midfielders get back, whose fullbacks hardly go up. So definitely to unlock the door, we need a little bit of creativity in there because unlike looks like we try to play like Liverpool, but Firmino, unlike Lacazette, is very good with the flick-ons and creating chances and some back heels. But Lacazette doesn't give that, so we don't get the creativity from our centre forward, and neither anyone in our two-man midfield is really good at being creative. And in fact, even when we had Ceballos, he sacrificed a lot of his creativity to do his defensive duties. So
Defensive.
yeah, but on the other hand, we don't go and sign a very a natural CAM because in Arteta's style of play, there's not somebody who can just be in front and attack like, of course, as you know, Ozil does. So we need a guy who is good at putting the final ball but runs a lot. Someone like a Ramsey, but who can also provide goals. So for me, someone like Awa would be perfect, but on a cheaper, considering our budget, on a cheaper option would be Thiago, but that'll be very difficult to convince him to move from a club like Bayern to us, who have a whole rebuild. So I would look at a guy who's good at providing the final ball, but also can be a little more box to box. And then, of course, we need very importantly a CDM so that we can move back from a 5-man defense to a 4-man defense, because that will add a lot of control in midfield, which we are lacking right now.
So basically, Nathan is saying that we need a attacking midfielder through the center and a CDM, which is fair enough, and those are the positions we are looking at. So Sully is out of here. Anoop and Kingsley, do you guys have any other position that you all feel requires strengthening? Anything that you feel other than these two positions that will take our team to another?
For me, CDM is not a priority, to be very honest, and for me, it's more the creativity. So I mean, see, looking at the current scenario and how much money do we have, and these guys have made it very clear that we are trying to sell off players to get in money, right? To purchase players. So I mean, looking at it from a practical perspective, I wouldn't prioritize the CDM position. Yes, we do need, and probably next transfer window, or rather the summer transfer window is maybe when we go out and strengthen that position. But as of right now, for me, it has to be Danny Ceballos back in. It has to be someone like a Coutinho. I see that being more feasible over something like a Thiago. He is going to leave, and I believe he's going to be a free agent in January. So he's allowed.
You can sign him for free for the next season.
You can sign it. I think it's either. I'm pretty sure he's going to leave Liverpool. I mean,
there's the high rumors
competing there. It doesn't make sense. That's why I look at Coutinho being the most viable option, and if it's a loan way to go, as long as that gives us something to fight for in the next season, right? I mean, it's something that we are clearly lacking. We don't have Ozil anymore. I don't know what is happening with that. He's not at the training ground. He's not anywhere, right? He's all over Twitter congratulating stuff and all, but there's no tangible outcome with that 350 that he's pulling in every week. So that's also another big problem there. And looking at everything that we have, looking at our wage bill, I think the Coutinho deal seems more viable, and that's something we really need to go for urgently.
Yeah, and of course we have one player we have not spoken about. We've spoken in previously, but not today, is Willian. He is one of the players. We don't know how he's going to perform, but yes, he is one of the attacking options that we have. Evans does mention in the comments saying, I guess Arteta sacrificed a part of the attack for more defensive stability, which is correct. And he has, Arteta went for defense first right from the start from the time he has joined us. He has stabilized the defense quite a bit, and that is, of course, it was needed because our defense was an absolute mess, and he has improved that for sure. So moving on to yesterday's game, Anup, who were your standout performers? If you had to give top 3 performers from your point of view, who were the standout performers last night?
I was just
Hey guys, just
gonna
wondering if you can
take
hear me.
this moment to. Hey, Sally, yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, so I was actually going to just take this moment, to mention this one player's name yesterday who might
Yeah.
have gone unnoticed. But Tierney yesterday, my God, I mean, that Salah in his pocket. Okay, throughout Salah was nowhere, nothing with the ball. The first half, definitely not. So much so that he actually made Salah move in deep, and not play up there. He then started coming in deep Salah, and that's where you see that goal that went where Salah was actually there in the center, not towards the left, and that's where it is. But yeah, and Tierney make. But I actually thought that Arteta's kind of sacrificed Tierney's attacking abilities by keeping him one of the three defense. But then the way Arteta has accommodated Tierney to push up for those crosses for while having
Yeah.
a cover back is commendable. I mean, this is, how you make users of a player. His all potential is being used up, his defensive and his attacking. So for me, definitely he was one of the standout. And one obviously, I see
Yeah.
I can't even say anything. It was all up there. It was pretty evident. And obvious, and this is, I know the third player for me is definitely, it's a no-brainer. People just because he scored a goal are like, okay, you're selecting him, but dude,
But yeah,
that's what wins us games. That's what eventually wins us games, right? And to
yeah.
do that, it's not easy. It's not easy. What a beautiful finish. That's only quality that can get us this. And he was definitely one of the top, in the players for me. Yeah.
Yes. And Sullivan, are you finally with us?
I hope so, man. I'm really sorry. I've been
Oh,
having
yes.
too
Finally,
many
we can
issues
hear
today.
you. Yeah, that's fine, man. We are all facing some issue or the other these days. So, Sally, just overall in the game, what were your standout moments of the game, and who, as per you, were the best performers of the night from Arsenal?
Standout moment from the game. One moment that really, really stood out for me was more than Aubameyang's finish, which, by the way, was bloody incredible, was
Yeah,
a pass to him. Just
exactly.
that
Yeah.
pass from
Kingsley just
Saka to
finished.
Aubameyang
Yeah,
was just the vision, like for a guy who's 17 years old, to have the vision to hit that crossfield ball over the heads of defenders like Van Dijk and Nico Williams and whoever was in the line covering
yeah,
for covering that ball. Just the vision to have to be able to play that pass was fantastic. That for one, and the overall way we played the ball out from the back without panicking. Like under Emery, we would play the
yeah,
ball out from the back and absolutely panic and probably give it away in midfield and then be in trouble again. But the way we actually played that ball out from the back, played it to Bellerin, Bellerin played it down the wing to Saka, Saka to
yeah,
Oba, and then the goal. That was just fantastic to watch. In addition to that, you asked me the question about El Neni a little earlier, but unfortunately, I
yeah,
wasn't able to
yeah,
answer. Uh, yes, the guy had an absolutely standout game yesterday. He was probably one of our best players on the field. But it's still El Neni, man. That's as good as he's going to get. And honestly, we need better.
yeah. We
If
need
we're going
better.
to
Yeah,
challenge for some sort of silverware, if we want to challenge and push for the top four, we need better than him. And he's a nice guy and he's a very likable character and everything, but he's just not Arsenal standard. I reckon.
yeah,
This is just my opinion. He's just not Arsenal standard, and he's still got, I think, 2 years left on his contract. We might as well just cash in on him now and improve on him.
yeah.
Somebody like Awar or Partey would be a massive, massive improvement on Neni. So for me, it's a
Yeah.
no-brainer. We have to get rid of him. So yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously Rani mentioned Tierney. Tierney was brilliant. I also have to give props to David Luiz. One training session, and he puts in
One training session.
another brilliant performance against Liverpool. Dude, the guy is incredible. I don't know why Chelsea fans were making fun of us. I think we got an excellent deal in him.
No, it's
They can take a
mainly
hike.
because of the binary issues that you get with David Luiz. Because one game he's a 10 out of 10, one game he's a 0 out of 10. So that's the problem we face.
But the thing is, when he's a
So
10 out of
before
10, he's a
we go
12
to
out
the
of 10. So
exactly, yeah. So before we go to the final session, which is discussing the transfers during the week, does anyone have, this is open to the entire group, does anyone have any other point about last night's match? You guys want to add any other point?
Just on the first goal,
just the Leno and Martinez. Like, I mean, I don't know what is happening because a lot of people on Twitter seem to think that they want that Martinez should be the number one over Leno, which I don't agree with. But Martinez is obviously going to want to leave the club for first team football, considering.
Yes, we'll come back to the
everything.
Martinez
So-
point, obviously, because
Yeah,
of the
cool.
transfer rumor. But yeah, before that, yeah, Nathan, you were saying?
Yeah, just on the first goal, what was interesting. So Nick Williams, as you know, he's come in as a youngster and he made a lot of mistakes yesterday, which gave Auba a lot of joy.
Yep.
But what was very interesting to see in the first goal was Tierney's lung-busting run in the middle, which pulled Neco Williams out of position, which gave Auba the time to control the ball and then cut in. A lot of people don't notice that, and we thought it might be Nketiah who was doing it, but it was actually Tierney who dragged him out of space. And what is normally characteristic of Liverpool is when one of their fullbacks go up, then Fabinho or Henderson, who's a CDM, normally slots in. But
Moves into that.
for the full of the first half, I didn't see any of that, which gave Auba a lot of joy. And I was shocked that they didn't really react to it. But in the second half, they did. But that was, I think, what made the first goal, the space that was created for Auba.
And of course, the last part of the game was obviously 5 penalties. Like, you know, all of them were unstoppable and smart. And I think none of us can get enough of Maitland-Niles' penalty. It was so bloody calm to take that penalty. It was fantastic. So a good game overall and a lot to look forward to. And especially when I say that Liverpool had 10 of their first team players and just one player who would normally not start for them. So it was a brilliant game. And again,
It was a good achievement.
if anyone has any closing thoughts on the game before we move to transfers.
Mo Salah was only seen on the team sheet, not on the pitch.
Okay, so now, sorry.
Even Firmino, for that matter.
Yeah, Firmino. Actually, for me, it was more Firmino.
Firmino is never on the pitch most of the time.
So I'm drinking water the sides once. That's it.
Okay, so now we will move to the final segment of this to discuss what has happened during the week in terms of transfer. So David Ornstein has reported that Holding is up for a loan move to
I have
Newcastle,
one word,
and
nothing.
so this today's transfer part has nothing of incomings but only outgoings. And since Holding, Arsenal are not considering a permanent move for him outside as of now. So what do you guys make of it? He has 2 years left on his contract and he's being sent on loan for 1 year. Good move, bad move? What do you think about it? This is.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Sully, go.
Yeah,
Sully,
Kings.
go.
Okay, Sully. Yeah, go.
I think this loan thing doesn't really. I mean, it's not helping us in any way. I mean, if we see him as surplus to requirements, I think we should just let him go at this point. If we see him integral member of the team, we need to give him chances in the team, in the first team. There's absolutely no point loaning him out. I mean, I don't see why we would give him away if we don't intend to keep him. And if we intend to keep him, why is he not being given a chance? I mean, he's old enough. He's been there a long time now with us. I mean, this loan deal just does not make sense to me. I can't make any sort of sense of it. I mean, I don't know about you guys.
Does anyone have a counter argument to this? Because I do, if at all.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I want Holding to be in the team simply because I want him to get game time. This guy does have potential, and I think he would benefit a lot if he just had a nice, good season, no injuries, none of that nonsense. Just have a nice, good season.
Also, competition for places now.
Yes, you could say that. In a way, yes. And for me, so okay, we send Holding out, but then the problem is, do we really rely on them? I don't want to see Mustafi playing for us ever again. I just need him to get out of the club. Chambers, again, I'm not too convinced where he plays, how he plays, right back, centre back. They keep doing that, shifting, changing. I'm not a big fan of that. So for me, he's the first player that I would look to loan out from that centre back surplus that we have right now, right? So that's my thought on Holding. We need to keep him. He needs to play. That's all I want to say.
I mean, before Holding, you have Socrates who has to go. I mean, before Holding, Socrates is a surplus.
Yeah.
You have Chambers is a surplus. You have so many other. I mean, I would Luis is. I mean, I would definitely choose holding. That's my.
And
But
in
yeah,
fact, Savio has just mentioned, I feel they're loaning him to play and replace Luis, which is a possibility for next season. But yeah, that's a good point, Rane. But see, I think it could make sense. Yeah, we do need the cash, but if it is a 1 year deal and maybe if he plays well, we retain him because next season we are definitely going to lose three centre backs. I mean, in a situation where we keep hold of Mustafi, Socrates, and Luis, which is not going to happen for sure. Next season we'll be down with 3 by 3 centre
Not
backs.
ideal.
So yeah, so that is one thing. And one person we all keep missing is Mari. We do have Mari in the squad. Okay, so let me go to Nathan on this one. Nathan, the other rumor that has been doing the rounds this week was of Martinez. So keep, sell, or how do we go ahead with the Martinez situation?
I would 100% keep Martinez because, yes, we do have Leno, who I would say is close to being a world class keeper. But if you look at their all round game, Leno is an amazing shot stopper, but he has absolutely no command of his box. He does not talk to his defenders, he does not talk to his fullbacks. There's no coordination, he's not commanding. And what is very interesting about Martinez is if you see the shots that he saves, most of them he
Holds
holds
on
them
to
well,
them.
which doesn't
Yeah.
allow the attackers to get on the second ball. But with Leno, I see many times he spills it. Yes, he's made incredible save with his head, with his thighs, with his midsection. But I think overall, if you compare, Martinez is the far better overall keeper. I mean, it's shocking to say that, and we all wanted to throw him out when we played Reading and won 7-5. But the transformation after that is incredible. But the most important thing I think about Martinez, he loves the club, which means most games he'll give more than 100%. And I think that's another reason why we love Arteta so much, because even if he gets the tactics wrong or whatever, he'll go that extra mile because he truly loves the club. So that's why I think we should keep Martinez. And if we really have to sell a keeper, I would honestly sell Leno at this point because it's more likely that we'll get more money from him. But typically, I mean, generally, I would keep both for sure.
So anyone, I think this might have anyone has a point against this right now.
I mean, for me, it's Leno, man. I mean, I know Martinez has been outstanding, yes, but it's a period of like 4, 5 months.
Yeah, it's a small
And
sample size.
for a goalkeeper
Yeah.
to prove his, it needs much more than that. And Leno has done it. We've seen it. We have confidence, in the goalkeeper that's between the posts. And I have that confidence in Leno. So and I mean, I'm pretty sure that's also what the other fan base kind of. And he's in the goal also. I mean, we feel confident because of the fact he's proved himself all this
Yes.
year. Right now, based on this small short span of time, I definitely wouldn't put up Martinez over Leno. If it's for me, right? And Martinez, I mean, he deserves first team now. I mean, we've discussed this before as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, for a player, for him, for something that's good for him, I think he will move on. But I would love to have them both. But I don't see that happen.
Yeah, and I think the Athletic article which came up also, if you read between the lines, it looks more like it's Martinez's agents and his camp that has put up that story, who has leaked the story that he wants to move away because Arsenal, or it's either he's looking for first team or he's looking for a better deal. But because Arsenal seem to want him very badly, they do want to keep uh, two good goalkeepers. The Brentford keeper is being linked also, but let's see what happens on that front in the next upcoming week. And now for the final transfer discussion over this week is the one and only, the man of the match from last night is Maitland-Niles. So let me just brief up what has happened about Niles. First, a couple of months ago, David Ornstein comes up with an article saying that Arsenal are looking to let Niles go. Then Arteta plays him in the up games and Niles has a fantastic run. Then again, till last week, they said that there was a 15 million bid from Wolves, which was rejected. And all of a sudden, right now, today, before we have started this discussion, the news has come up that we could be looking to offer Niles a new contract also. So that is quite some 1 month period for Niles. Yeah. So what is your take, guys? I mean, I think most of the people will agree right now that we could keep him, but at the same time, he's one of our sellable, one of our players who we can sell. So what is the general consensus regarding him right now? This is open to all.
I
This
think
is the
it's a
final
little bit.
topic. So, yeah.
I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag because he is a sellable asset for one. Like if we sell him, we will get a decent amount of money. But that being said, he's on a ridiculous run of form, and I'm fairly certain he's one of Arteta's top players right now to get onto the 11. So it's a little bit of a gray area, but in my opinion, I think we should keep him. The guy has talent. He's young. He's an Arsenal product. I mean, there's only things to like about him. Like he does very, very little wrong in a game. I mean, of course, initially when he came into the team, he was a little raw and he made a few errors. I still remember that one back pass that was intercepted. I don't remember what team we were playing against. It was a very poor back pass, and we all nailed him on Twitter, me included. But the man's improved leaps and bounds since then, and I don't know. I mean, he just seems like a completely different player now. He's built up some upper body strength. Some of the runs he makes are extremely clever. He's a very Ramsey meets Bellerin type player. He makes those late runs into the box. Even yesterday, there were many times when he was playing centre forward, and he was technically supposed to be the left wing back. But there were so many times I saw him right at the top of the. He was pretty much leading the line at some point of time, which was heartening to see because he was doing everything right and he was an absolute thorn in Liverpool's side yesterday. And he played well against City. He played well against Chelsea. He played. So he's been on a ridiculous run of form. So I mean, I think we should keep him. But if a big enough bid comes in, the club might be tempted to sell him. And by big enough bid, I mean it has to be 30, 35 plus. He's an English player, so that premium has to be. I mean, if other teams can sell their average English player for a huge amount, I mean, I'm sure somebody as good as Maitland-Niles can command a decent transfer amount. So I don't know. It's very great.
Yeah, especially no, I think the transfer fee will be a thing to be looked at again, especially with the call up for England also. Kingsley, you usually tend to have a thing against the utility players, who play at Madrid. So are you in agreement with this Maitland-Niles situation, or would you be tempted to sell him?
Surprisingly, I am in agreement. And it's purely because he seems to be getting better. I mean, so it's a no-brainer. If someone is really doing well, why sell him? And that also increases his net worth, right? And then England call-up is also another nice 10 million slap to his transfer fee, right? So I don't know. I don't know. So my thing is, we have a bunch of players that are there, but they're not right there, right? So something like a Joe Willock, Nelson, Maitland-Niles. So they're almost there. They're almost there. It's just we just need to figure out who actually makes it forward and who we need to like push off. And Maitland-Niles, he's one of that. He's one of that pool that is almost there but not yet there. And the only way to actually figure that out is to have a nice another season to go by, right? And let's see how that works out for us. But again, I still maintain that point. If we keep using him in multiple positions, and I don't know. I just hate when they do that. It destroys the learning, right? I mean, you're trained to do that one position. You can't keep shifting. I'm just fearful that will probably ruin his progress and he'll probably deteriorate as he goes along. But fingers crossed right now. I want to keep him right now at this point of time. But then, like the guy said, right, he's an extremely valuable asset, and from a selling perspective, right, he'll command a huge fee. And going with what the times and the players that we're getting linked to, I probably see us selling before we actually go out and say, what, Partey, this is another 50 million, come over. So again, it depends on how these guys want to run it.
See, and one of the things that Arsenal have often faced an issue is Arsenal have been a poor selling club, and the issue is we tend to sell our players too late. There is a time when you have to sell your players, like for instance Iwobi, right time to sell him. Ox, right time to sell him. So we, Arsenal need to make that decision right now. So it is a make or break moment for them when it comes to Niles. Okay, guys, I had said that it was the last topic, but I have one last topic actually, and this goes to Nathan. Arteta was quite vocal about Guendouzi. The person who has been put away for the second half, for the restart of the season. Do you think he has a future, or is this Arteta just getting some good PR in order to get him away from the club?
I think it's the latter. I think Arteta knows that three sellable assets are Niles and Guendouzi and maybe another one or two, depending on what he feels the team moving forward. But I think Guendouzi has a lot of stigma attached around him. They've offered him to many clubs and they don't really want him at this moment because of his attitude problem, but also maybe considering his high ceiling, which is still
Yes.
there, Arsenal must be demanding a lot of money right now. So on such a risky asset, I mean, from a business point of view, you wouldn't risk it at this moment. But for me, our three sellable assets are Guendouzi, Torreira, and Lacazette, and I'll be totally fine letting all three go so that we could improve our
Yeah.
midfield. But yes, Guendouzi, I don't think he has a future at Arsenal because Arteta is trying to stamp his name on this team, his style on this team, his philosophy on this team. So putting Ozil and Guendouzi back in after the public exposure of their
Yeah.
attitude, etc., will totally destroy the philosophy he's built in the last month. So I don't think these people will be back. It might help the team in the short run, but overall in the long run, it'll be counterintuitive to his approach.
Anup, are you in agreement with that, or do you think that Guendouzi should have a future here?
I personally feel Guendouzi should be sold. I mean, just I don't want him in my team. I mean, I really don't want to see him play for Arsenal again because he's been disrespectful. I mean, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
And for a young kid to, I mean, to just one season you have,
Yeah.
season that doesn't make you any, and we have, there definitely should. There's only one Don of the team, and that's the coach. There's nothing. There's no these. I mean, I just see him as a bad element right now, and which will just disrupt the whole thing that we have going on right now with the whole team
Yeah.
cohesiveness and the whole thing. Yeah, he's definitely not a fit. I would like to get rid of him. I mean, sell him. Even the money part, obviously, the board will want a huge amount for him, but definitely not in the team as a playing side. I would not want him.
Okay, yes. So I think, guys, we can close up from there. We ended up speaking quite a bit, and rightly so. The match was quite interesting, and a lot of noise. I mean, lot of transfer noise and news going around. As we always say, it's a never a dull day at Arsenal, and we are going to get more. We'll get more news in the upcoming week, and there will probably be some
Don't count your
behind the
chickens.
scenes. Yeah, there will be some behind closed door friendly matches also, and hopefully this is the week where we get some announcements. Like really hope that is the case. So guys, I think it's a good, let's close this call here. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks Nathan for being a part of this today,
Pleasure.
and thanks to all the guys who have been in the Instagram comments, who have been commenting on the live. Sorry if we've missed out on a couple of comments, but thanks for your support. So we will catch you guys next weekend, and hope you all have stay home, stay safe. See you next weekend. Bye bye.